Welcome into this exciting episode of Real Biz. I am your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today from 10th Mountain Whiskey, Ryan Thompson. Ryan, welcome to the show.
Hey, Bubba, thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here with you.
Absolute pleasure, sir. I wish we were able to do this in person there into the distillery, but we're going to get to that later. I know you guys got a beautiful spot up there in the mountains in Colorado, where I will be later this year anyway. So it just happens to work out. But before we get to that, and before we get to everything that you guys are doing, not just in the whiskey world, but for our veteran community, wanted to get a little bit of your backstory and how you got to this point.
Yeah, sure, Bubby. You got it. It's you don't have to be a ninth generation distiller to get into the distillery business. I tell you that much. There's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of family heritage going on within the industry, which is all well and great. And there's some very cool lineage there. From Europeans coming over and starting it and putting pieces together and keeping their family fed and saving the corn from that year's crop, et cetera, and turning it into whiskey. I have none of that fun story, right? My story started in 1998 when I first moved to Vail, and I bartended around town and lived the ski bum lifestyle for a couple years, skiing 100 days a year, bartending at night, having a great time. And then in 2002, had a chance to start a restaurant, and me and a couple friends took the leap. I was 25 years old at the time, took the leap and started a restaurant that I still have my thumb on today with my same two original business partners. It's called the West Side Cafe in West Vail. And through that last 24 years with that business and those two business partners, we've bought and sold a couple other restaurants as well. In 2011, 2012, I was watching what the craft distillery movement was doing. I was a big home brewer just for fun, though, 5-gallon batches just for friends and family. So I understood the brewing side of things. And then distillation is the next step after that. There were some leading distilleries within the state of Colorado and then in a couple other states and a couple other mountain towns as well that were making great spirits and leading the way and doing great things. And I thought to myself, I'm like, well, someone in the Vail Valley is going to make whiskey sooner or later. I'm like, you know what? It might as well be me, right? Sure. I'm a bartender. I've owned a restaurant. I homebrew. Distillation's the next step. I can figure that out. About the same time, I came across an ad in a whiskey magazine for Moonshine University, of all things, in a town called Louisville, Kentucky. I'm sure you've heard of it. Whiskey capital, bourbon capital of the world, at least. And so it was the first class that Moonshine University ever held. Went out there. It's a week-long course. It's obviously not an accredited university by any means, but extensive knowledge from A to Z about how to run a distillery, how to take care of the equipment, the science, the chemistry, the marketing, the legal, all the raw material suppliers, everything from A to Z about how to run a distillery was covered in that week. Came back and wrote a business plan and begged, borrowed, and stole as much money as I could put together for the next year. And got the brand off the ground and got this thing off the ground. Started distilling with a 13-gallon still, a little small thing, certainly compared to our still these days, which is a 500-gallon still. And then just slowly started putting one foot in front of the other. And that was 12 years ago. And man, it feels like I started from yesterday still. So
I love the natural progression, right? Ski bum, bartender, restaurant owner, home brewer, distiller.
That's exactly right. It makes sense, doesn't it? It makes sense
to me anyway, right? I grew up in a mountain town in South Dakota. Have experienced quite a few other ones. I haven't been up to Vail yet, but got to ski in Breckenridge before. And I've been up, Teton Village. And just there's something about those mountains that lends itself to a good time, not only on the mountain, but back down in the villages afterwards. And it feels very natural, I'm sure, for you to be in this position, 30 years after kind of coming to the mountain. And these places are hard to leave, right? There's some kind of a vortex, I'm sure, around Vail as there is around so many other mountain towns.
Yeah, Bo, that's interesting you say that. You nailed it. And there were a couple times throughout that story where I almost left. I was
it would have pulled you back, Ryan, don't worry.
Yeah, right, exactly. And a lot of people that do leave end up coming back, but I've never left. I've been here for 27 years straight, but I certainly took a hard look at grad school, MBA and JD degrees, and was applying for those when the restaurant opportunity came up. A couple years into the restaurant business, we weren't doing that well, and certainly just scraping by and paying the bills. And then a job opportunity landed in my lap back in Texas, where I'm originally from. in Houston in the commercial real estate business, which I was really interested in at the time. It was kind of a dream job for me. And man, I accepted that job. And then when it came time to move, the day I was supposed to be moving, I'm like, I can't leave. I can't leave my two buddies at the restaurant. I'm staying. I gotta put my nose back down and grind this thing out. And sure enough, man, a couple years later, we started making a couple dollars and making a living. People think 24 years in the restaurant business, you might be smooth sailing at this point, but that's anything but. We're still in the business on a daily basis, but at least we're able to make a living and pay the bills. And so there were certainly a couple of times that I was tempted to leave, but I'm very thankful I did not. So
I just get flashbacks to the Wolf of Wall Street scene where he's supposed to leave the company and I'm not.
Yeah, exactly right. It's exactly right. Yeah. So, mom and dad were excited to get me back in the hometown where I grew up, where they still resided. And, but in the end, I had to make those phone calls and be like, I'm staying put. So,
yeah. And I'm glad you did. And often in business, it is in those moments where the real, where the kind of trigger is for the success, right? The times are dark, and I'm sure that, like you said, scraping by with the restaurant business and asking yourself nightly, what are we doing? Like it just seems like it's so far away, but it's in that moment that you recommit to it, right? That you kind of leave that other offer and you decide to stay. That often those are when you threw the old, darkest before the dawn, kind of moniker that we push it through, right? I'm an entrepreneur myself. I've grown up, my dad was a business owner, still owns his own landscaping company now, moved it from Chicago, suburban Chicago, where he was doing very well, new construction, things are good, got a big crew, out to South Dakota, where he had to work for someone else for a few years to establish himself. Turns out it was mostly just to get the logs for his log home. But as soon as he could and he had the opportunity, he was more than willing to sacrifice and make the sacrifices to rebuild his own business and to be his own boss again, and still does. I mean, waking up at 2:00 in the morning to go plow snow in Deadwood, South Dakota and everything, like he's still committed to that. And I think in a lot of ways that inspires me, right, to keep pushing through my own dark times, right? I mean, podcasting, I don't know if you know this, Ryan, there's not a lot of money in it. If you're trying to run on a model of, cost per 1,000 views or whatever that a lot of these people are, everyone's out here trying to get famous, right? And to try and draw in these views. And I think they kind of miss what it is. A podcast is a community. And when you have so many, like I do, you have several communities, and it's how do you put a dome on top of all of that and to build an ecosystem. And it's really an ecosystem of support that you're looking to build. And you're not just trying to get famous. Ryan, I live in a town of 1,000 people. I'm about as famous as I could be. I'm sure you feel the same way in Vail. It's not a very large community at the end of the day.
Yeah. And Bubba, it's interesting. It's I think it depends on how you measure that success with your podcast, right? If it is getting famous and if it is making $1 million for the year, $1 million for the month, or whatever, 500,000, whatever number you want to put on it, if that's your metric, then that's going to might be a hard metric to reach. But if your metric is growing your community and reaching people that you otherwise would never have reached, hell, you and I both is a great example, right? Then it's successful too, right? So certainly want to keep the lights on and pay the bills and make sure things are operating. But in the end, if you don't become famous and if you don't become that Instagram millionaire, then it's okay still, right? It's okay.
Oh my man, just the conversations I've had in the last 48 hours have been absolutely incredible. I spent most of yesterday talking to people in the Middle East because I just kind of, and now because I'm such a connector in what I do, I connect with communities, right? Not just our veteran community. And we're going to talk more about your connection to the veteran community as well, but with another community of podcasters and podcast people that want to be podcast guests. There's people out there building communities of people that just want to guest on podcasts. I was able to go plug into that and like, whoa, now I'm talking to, tech startups and people that are working, a lot of them residing in Israel, but I started my day off talking to someone who's working on the Macabre Cube project for the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia in Riyadh.
Incredible.
Right? I'm living in the middle of South Dakota in a tiny little farm town. This shouldn't happen, but yet with the power of the internet and these beautiful platforms like a LinkedIn or any of these other groups that I'm in, that I have the extreme honor and privilege to have these conversations and to support so many big causes in the world. And it's an honor. It's absolutely an honor. And if there's any money at the end of the day, then so be it. I said that when the podcast got me, so I got to interview Bill Payne of Little Feat. Was one of like my 10th interview on the podcast, right? Guy that has literally played with everyone in the music business. And not only was the conversation extremely gratifying, a man like that being like, Bubba, you're one of us, right? Like, you're a musician. We're all in this together, right? Yeah. And in a lot of ways, he's still kind of an independent, struggling musician, right? Obviously, he's had a lot of success in his career, but he got my mom free tickets on her birthday to go sit right next to his wife in the VIP section, right up front, to watch Little Feat and the Avett Brothers at Red Rocks.
That's
right?
incredible, dude.
To bring it full circle back to Colorado, right? I'm very blessed. I said after that day, I got to be the good son for the first time in a long time. This podcast can do nothing else from here, and I'm good. So we awesome. Talked a little bit about, the veteran community, obviously with us in Operation Combating Veteran Suicide, everything that we're doing to support our veterans. 10th Mountain is an ode to the military. I'd love for you to share a little bit of that story.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Bob. Appreciate that. So we're named in honor of the 10th Mountain Army Division, and it's one of the most historic military divisions out there in the United States military. And they originated, the 10th Mountain was originated in our area, just a few miles south of Vail, in a place called Camp Hale in the 1940s, to be a mountain warfare specific Army division. There was a group of people that had recognized that we were getting into World War II, and there was a real good chance we were going to have to fight in the mountains in a cold environment. And those challenges present a whole nother layer of different obstacles to overcome. Not only when you're fighting the enemy, but you're fighting nature as well. You're fighting the mountains. You're living in 0-degree weather. Your equipment operates differently. And so a group of individuals, a guy named Minnie Dole, who was in charge, was the president of the National Ski Patrol at the time, recognized that the Finnish army kicked the Russians' ass out of Finland because they were so skilled at mountain warfare. And so he convinced the United States government, after multiple tries, the government was not convinced after the first couple of tries that we needed a mountain warfare army division. And after Minnie Dole's persistence, they finally said, yes, we do, and recognized it, looked at a number of different spots around the country, and ended up at the ideal spot, quote, at a train stop just a little bit south of Camp Hale in a place called the Pando Valley. And it's now Camp Hale. It's a national, it's a monument as well. But it was 15,000 soldiers. There are about 250 women there doing supporting work. I'm not being feminist, but they were the nurses, they were the seamstresses, they were the cooks. And so there was a lot of that going on. But they built a city at Pando train station. And they trained there for about 2.5 years. And for a long time, the soldiers were not even thinking they were going to see battle, get into combat. And they were getting a little bit depressed about it. They ended up getting shipped down to Camp Swift, Texas, where there's not a lot of mountains. And they're like, why the hell are we going to Camp Swift? What is going on with our division? Some of the guys started getting out and going to different divisions, different areas, because they never thought they were going to get into war. And finally, they ended up going out to Virginia after just a few six weeks in Camp Swift, out to Virginia, and then from Virginia out to Italy. And then in Italy, they ended up marching up to northern Italy to the Apennine Mountains. There were a couple different tries to break through the Gothic line of the Germans in the Apennine Mountains, some strongholds that the Germans had there, and some other divisions and some other countries were not able to do that. The 10th Mountain comes in and kicks their ass and pushes the Germans back. This was February of 1945. The next 3 months, they saw some significant battles. They lost just right at about 1,000 men and another 4,000 wounded out of the 10,000 soldiers that were 10 to 15,000 soldiers that were there. When the Nazis surrendered, they requested to surrender to the general of the 10th Mountain, because that was their most respected opponent, which is a cool feather in the cap of the 10th Mountain. So they surrendered on May 5th, 1945. And then when the soldiers came back from the war, they wanted to share the sport of skiing with their friends and family, and the outdoor lifestyle and the mountains and everything that came with it. And so they ended up starting the modern day ski industry as we know Started over 60 different ski resorts across the country, a number in the Northeast, a number here in Colorado, and a number in North Lake Tahoe area as well. They started a number of other different businesses, the National Outdoor Leadership School, Outward Bound. Let's see, a shoe company named Nike was started by a 10th Mountain vet. So everybody, of course, knows Nike. Phil Knight's business partner was a guy named Bill Bowerman. That whole story of Bill Bowerman was a track coach at University of Oregon. But before then, he was in the 10th Mountain. Pletzel climbing gear. So you name it. These guys were entrepreneurs. But then at the end of the day, they also enjoyed to relax and weren't afraid of having a drink or two either. And so there are plenty of stories out there, those guys having a good time and enjoying some whiskey or some wine or a pint of beer or something as well. So they're speaking my language. I'm an entrepreneur. I work my ass off, but then at the end of the day, I'm not afraid of having a glass of whiskey either. So we were starting the distillery 12 years ago, and given all the history, and Vail Mountain was one of the mountains started by a 10th Mountain vet. So we recognize that without these soldiers, we wouldn't be living a free life that we are today. Two, Vail Mountain probably would not have been founded, let alone the modern day ski industry. So there were 700 distilleries roughly in 2013 when we were starting. And at that point, I thought there were plenty of distilleries. It peaked at about 3,200. It's back down to about 2,500 distilleries right now. But even at 700, I'm like, man, the United States, we don't need another distillery. There's plenty of great whiskey out there. There's plenty of great spirits. I don't want to just be another Me Too brand out there. I'm like, if we do it, which I'm interested in doing it for a number of different reasons, but we need a bigger reason to do it, a bigger reason why, and recognize the influence of the 10th Mountain. Like, well, let's name it in honor of the 10th Mountain. Let's use it as a platform to support a number of different military nonprofits. And that's been the goal since day one. And here we are 12 years later. So.
Absolutely incredible. What a great story about the 10th Mountain Division, these men, these women who did it. If anyone would love to hear, what some of these things that they went through, I'm sure there's a number of books and historical accounts of that, but Ernest Hemingway wrote an incredible book talking about some of these battles in particular and what that life was like. I was very fortunate to read one of those as a young man. If you're a visual learner and you kind of need something, I mean, there's some popular movies that Steven Spielberg did. Raiders of the Lost Ark might give you a little taste of what that, what it looked like in those areas. So incredible stuff, man. Absolutely love the dedication to your roots, right? The roots of Vail and understanding the history and the stories and continuing on that tradition. And now 10th Mountain Whiskey gets to carry on those traditions and to carry those stories with it and everything that you do while supporting the future of our veteran communities as well. I just think it's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, thanks, bud. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's a really fun, it's a fun platform to use to support these military nonprofits and the active soldiers and the retired veterans as well. They were the 10th deactivated when they got back from World War II for a couple decades, and then they were reactivated in 1985 as a light infantry division based in upstate New York. And they've been in they're the most active division over the last 30 years. So their headquarters is in upstate New York now. They also have a post in Fort Polk, Louisiana, as a cavalry division of all things. They still wear the mountain tab, and they are getting back to their mountain roots with some units that are focused on mountain warfare again. So they were deactivated for a while, but they're back at it now. So certainly movie that you might have had in the back of your mind was Black Hawk Down. There was obviously that was Battle of Mogadishu. You can see some 10th Mountain patches in the movie. 10th Mountain wasn't a big focus of the movie, but they were certainly a significant part of that battle. And then over the last 30 years as well. So
incredible stuff. So, I mean, obviously you're selling whiskey. You got the distillery there. I know you guys have a tasting room there in Vail. What else are you guys doing? Are there some, events that you guys are doing in the town of Vail outside of it that you're doing and kind of carrying the message out there?
Yeah, well, it's incredible timing. We are recording this, on February 24th, I think it is, right?
Yes, sir.
And so in 2 days, the Legacy Weekend starts. 10th Mountain Legacy Weekend starts in Vail Village, or the town of Vail, and at Ski Cooper, which is a smaller ski hill, but it's the ski hill that the 10th Mountain learned to ski on in the 1940s. And Legacy Weekend is a huge celebration of the 10th Mountain Army Division. So a number of us, our whole team, will be participating in one aspect or another, with different ski downs and serpentine skis, and a lot of flags flying. There's some fireworks and a parade on Saturday going through Vail Village. It goes right by our tasting room. We've become, well, this has been done over the last 6 years or so. And we're the unofficial headquarters. This year, our tasting room is the official headquarters of the deal. So it's going to be a lot of fun. There's a number of generals come in for it. The current commanding general of 10th Mountain will be in town for it, along with his sergeant major, and about 50. I think there's about 50 other soldiers coming in from Drum for it. A lot of 10th Mountain descendants, a lot of 10th Mountain veterans will be in town, and so it's just that. There's a local military organization called HATS. It's an acronym for a High Altitude Aviation Training Site. It's 5 minutes away from the distillery. It's 30 minutes west of Vail, but they get one of their Blackhawks, fly it in, land it on top of Vail Mountain for a photo op for a couple hours. Kids get to climb all over the helicopter. They've got their avalanche dogs out there. It's an amazing thing to see. And so that's one of the events to carry on the 10th Mountain legacy, happening just here in a couple of days. And we're all super excited and gearing up for it. So.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, this episode won't air before that. But is it always the same time, the last weekend in February?
Yeah, it sure is. That's typically, yes. It's out of my hands. It's a town of Vail and Vail Resorts lead the way with it, and we kind of follow in the wake. But it's typically this last weekend of February, early March. So,
well, I'm already circling it on my 2027 calendar. Now, I don't ski, but I do snowboard, and I hope that I can come up and be up there. We'll bring the podcast and maybe some of our crew along and be there to experience everything. Obviously, Operation Combating Veteran Suicide would love to have a presence there for this event. And that's what's so great about the podcasting that we do, is the connection with the communities and reaching out and being able to find events like this. Otherwise, we might never know. With so much going on in the world, how do you cut through the noise, right? How do you find your people? And I think that 10th Mountain has become a beacon for people to kind of flock to, right? The people who veterans, but also enjoy the extreme sports and winter culture and among other things, right? Rock climbing and all of these things that are doing, but also the veteran community as well. And I think that's so cool that, not only do you have the whiskey, but you have the still in the tasting room, and you have this beacon in town, and with what you've built, I'm sure with the West Side Grill as well, right? That these places are a place where community happens. Community isn't something that just kind of comes out of nowhere. It takes time to build. And I absolutely love everything you guys are about. Ryan, before I let you go, plug everything. Obviously, we got the website scrolling along the bottom here for those watching, but for those just listening, go ahead and plug everywhere that they can get 10th Mountain Whiskey, found out more about you and the foundations that you're serving.
Yeah, certainly you can find us across all socials at 10th MTN Whiskey. We're even on TikTok. We're not dancing, but we're on TikTok. And to your point, Bubba, and we have a newsletter, and we lead with value, certainly in our newsletter, about what's going on within the military community, active soldiers, veterans, different military nonprofits, and what they're doing. And so that's our focus with our consumer-facing newsletter. Certainly like to bring value across our socials as well. Yes, of course, we promote a cocktail here and there and what we're doing internally as a company. But obviously, we want to lead with value, and that's super important to us. Let's see. Our tasting room is in Vail Village, right by the covered bridge. If you're ever walking in Vail Village, you can't miss it. You're going to walk by us at least twice, once coming into the village, once leaving. Our distillery is in Gypsum, so about 30 minutes west of Vail proper. We do distillery tours. We have a tasting room there. We do events. One event coming up a little more in the future is over Memorial Day weekend. We've been working on a flag to remember, which is a flag, 3x5 flag with 250 fallen soldiers on it. And then we're going to have an event around that and the unveiling of the flag, free for people to come hang at. We put all the names on it already. Well, it's being made and sewn right now, but certainly if the friends and family of the fallen soldiers that have names on it are going to be there. So it's called a flag to remember, and we're going to be doing that across Memorial Day weekend. Let's see. Our website is 10thwhiskey.com. That's 10th, whiskey with an E.
Incredible, Ryan. I'm so grateful to have met you and to get to share this moment on the podcast and everything. We're going to shoot to get this out before Memorial Day to make sure that we promote that event that you guys have going on. I think that's incredible what you're doing, not just for the broader veteran community, but really digging into the personal stories and the people, right? And I think we often forget about the families of not just our fallen soldiers, but the ones that are still here with us and that veteran community at large. So appreciate everything that you're doing for our vets and for the veteran community at large. And just absolutely a pleasure to know you. And I can't wait to come up and see you this summer in Vail Village, get to check out the distillery and share a whiskey with you in the tasting room.
Man, that'll be great, Bubba. I'd love to show you around. I look forward to it. Thank you for having me on the pod tonight.
Awesome. Well, thanks for spending some time with me today. And thank you for being part of the scene.
Yes, sir. Keep up the good work. See you, bud.
Imagine capturing the raw essence of nature, with its infinite color and beauty. Now, envision turning that into something truly transformative. Pure and easy tea cultivates the goodness of nature's bounty into fuel for your body. We are what we drink. Pure and easy tea, the pure nourishment your body craves.